Great.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the My Sports Dietitian Performance Nutrition for Softball Athletes. My name is Kelsey Smith. I'm a registered dietitian, and we're just going to let everyone go ahead and have a little bit of time to join today's session, just a couple of minutes, and then we'll go ahead and get started. If you are here, please feel free to let us know in the chat who you are and where you're coming from on this great Wednesday evening. If it's not totally obvious, I'm currently at work. I am working with the University of Utah right now. So we are ending up our training day today. Hey, awesome. Welcome. Let's give maybe just about 30 more seconds, see if anyone else is attending, and then we'll jump right in. Thank you in advance for everyone who is already here. I'm very excited to be with you all today. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. Today we'll be talking about performance nutrition for softball athletes. My name is Kelsey Smith. I'm a registered dietitian. I am currently the assistant director of football nutrition at the University of Utah. I'm a former sports nutrition volunteer with the San Francisco 49ers, the Colorado Buffs, and even the Phoenix Suns. Done a little bit of work with the Atlanta Track Club, some other elite, endurance athletes with Bob Seebahar, done a couple of cookbooks, and I'm actually a former Division I athlete myself. So I love all things sports nutrition. I love what I do every single day, and I'm really happy to be able to share that with you all today. So let's dive in. So today what we're going to learn is how to prepare for a competition, what to eat before games or tournaments, how to fuel during the different games that you might be having during a tournament, easy snacks to help to keep with you for those busy competition days, hydration tips, and ways to fuel yourself off the field to help you perform best on the field. Okay, so when we're thinking about preparing for a softball game from a sports nutrition standpoint, I really like to say, in the same way that you would prepare for a game from different skill sessions and things like that, you also want to practice your nutrition in the very same way. So try to pack some snacks in your bag the night before so that, as an athlete, if you want to make sure that you have exactly what you need on hand, you really don't want to be thinking about it day of. So some of the examples that we have here are things like granola bars, protein powder, pretzels, applesauce packets, nut butter, different types of fruits, trail mix. Basically, those are all things that are shelf stable that you can have on hand. If you do choose, you could also have an insulated lunchbox to keep a couple of cold snacks on hand. One really good pro tip is to stick with what you know. Introducing new foods right before a tournament is not a great idea. That can lead to things like GI upset, and you really want your attention to be on the game, not on your stomach or thinking about a new food that you just ate. So as far as hydration, packing a water bottle, in fact, I've got one here right beside me. This is something that I preach with all of my athletes, filling up at least a 24-ounce water bottle the night before, storing it in the fridge so that you can grab and go first thing in the morning. Whenever you wake up, drinking about 8 ounces of water right then is a great way to start the day well hydrated. And then spacing water throughout the day so that you don't have to drink too much. This is a great strategy so that you're staying hydrated and not having to urinate too much right before bed. Another great tip is to pack an empty shaker cup in your bag to mix a protein powder with water on game day. Of course, this is a great way to make sure that you're still meeting your protein needs and really, really quick and easy. of course, we want to make sure that all protein powders are athlete approved. And so what we're looking for here is some kind of certification that the product has been tested. So, for instance, in the collegiate setting, we look primarily at NSF certified for sport. And that just let us know that there's no banned substances in it. And then we know that whatever is on the label is what's actually in the product, which is really great peace of mind. Speaking of, starting your softball game off right, making an easy breakfast the night before to have a quick grab and go on an early morning is a fantastic idea. So some examples of some easy grab and go breakfasts that you can prepare the night before would be egg sandwiches, maybe a breakfast burrito with a side of fruit, overnight oats, or even a smoothie. I even like to actually put all my smoothie ingredients in a plastic bag and put it in the freezer. So that way, all I have to do is grab that bag, throw it in a blender with a little bit of liquid, and it's good to go. Before the game, this is whenever, we're really looking at having some kind of larger meal about 3 to 4 hours before the competition. And we're trying to have a really balanced plate of a lot of the key macronutrients. So thinking about complex carbs, these are a little bit more of those slower digesting carbs, some lean protein, things like chicken, fish, eggs, maybe lean steak, and including a little bit of healthy fat, things like olive oil, avocado, nut butter. So one example of this might be, in that slide I just mentioned, having that breakfast burrito with a side of fruit. We've got eggs, which would be the protein. We've got a whole wheat tortilla for that complex carb. We've got avocado or cheese for that healthy fat. And then a little bit of salsa for flavor and additional veggies there. And of course, the little bit of grapes for some additional fruit and carbohydrates. So really, really well-balanced meal there, showing you that it doesn't have to be really fancy in order to meet the criteria. Now, as we move a little bit closer to game time, we want to focus on things that are really easy to digest. So think about things such as easy to digest carbs. Before I mentioned those the slower to digest carbs, things like whole wheat bread, whole wheat tortilla in our last example, but it's okay to include things like white toast, white rice, some of those things, so it doesn't have any GI upset right before the game. So we want to have those easy to digest carbs, pull back on the fat a little bit, since sometimes fat can feel pretty heavy in the stomach before a competition. Want to pull back a little bit on the fiber as well as protein. We want to make sure we still have a little bit of all those things, but it doesn't have to be a full-on meal. So a good example of this would be a couple of pieces of white toast topped with a little bit of peanut butter, maybe a small sliced banana, and a small cup of milk on the side. That checks all the boxes right there. Okay, so between games, what we're really looking at here is helping sustain energy. For some tournaments, they could be several hours long. And so we want to make sure that an athlete is getting all of the right simple carbohydrates during games to support their energy needs. So some of those simple carbs that an athlete might reach for whenever they're in the dugout would be things like a banana, grapes, orange, applesauce. Those are things that are pretty easy to digest and often pretty refreshing during a game. If an athlete prefers maybe something a little bit saltier, things like pretzels, goldfish, and crackers are perfect to snack on during a game. Between games during a tournament, having something that's a little bit more balanced with protein and carbs is a great strategy. It can help support, nice steady blood sugar, help sustain energy levels, and also ward off a little bit of excess hunger. So an example of this might be a protein shake and a banana, or maybe just a good old-fashioned peanut butter and jelly sandwich. A couple of easy snack ideas to take with you would be things like trail mix and applesauce, granola bar and raisins, protein shake and banana, like we just mentioned, maybe some rice cakes and nut butter, or even some lean beef jerky and pretzels. Again, these are things that are shelf stable. They can pretty much stay in your softball bag and they don't need to be refrigerated or frozen. So I like to call these with my athletes like, kind of an SOS snack. When you say, oops, maybe I didn't fuel quite the way I know that I should have, you always have some snacks on hand to kind of fill in the gaps. So after games, this is whenever we're refueling for the day. An example of this might be a taco bowl. So we're seeing really good balance between carbs, proteins, vegetables, and good healthy fats. So thinking about things like ground turkey or beef, a couple of cups of brown rice, some mixed bell peppers and onions, maybe some salsa and some Greek yogurt as a sour cream on top. This is a great antioxidant rich bowl, really supports the recovery and repair process. Another example of what this might look like would be a Cajun pasta dish. So thinking about a whole wheat pasta, again, that's more of those complex, slow digesting carbohydrates, maybe some chicken sausage or shredded chicken breast for that protein, some mixed peppers and zucchini for some great vegetables, antioxidant rich, and then adding on a little bit of flavor and extra nutrition there with some red sauce, maybe a little drizzle of Alfredo sauce as well. Hydration is really, really important during a softball game and also, of course, all day long throughout a tournament. Hydration is not, it's really to help with a lot of things like mental acuity. In a game like softball where decision making, having really fast reaction times is essential. Being dehydrated can actually make these decision making skills a lot slower. So hydration is really important for staying on top of the game. So some helpful tips for staying well hydrated would be thinking prior to the game, about 2 hours before, drinking 16 ounces of water. That's about 1 water bottle. Moving towards the game about 15 minutes prior, drink another 8 ounces or about 1 more cup of water to kind of top off any of those hydration levels. Then if we're thinking about during the game, we want to drink about 4 to 8 ounces of water every 15 minutes or so during the game. Now, of course, this could be a little bit dependent, on how long innings are, but just think about drinking when you come into the dugouts. Every big gulp of water is about 1 ounce. So maybe if you come into the dugout and have about 4 big gulps between innings, that should really help keep that hydration level pretty steady. About 1 hour after the game, switch to a sports drink with electrolytes. What I mean by that is, after the game's been going on for about an hour or so, as you're getting a little bit deeper into the innings, that's when switching to a sports drink such as Gatorade or Powerade that has some electrolytes, some carbohydrates is a really good idea. Just some more snack ideas. This is, really applying some of the things that we're talking about today, giving athletes these ideas is something that I found really helpful in my practice. I can say, hey, we need to eat a snack. And then some athletes might look at me with a blank face. We really want to make it as practical for you guys as possible. So some additional cold snacks for between or after games would be things like cheese and crackers, chocolate milk, Greek yogurt with fruit, and maybe even a smoothie if it's available. Okay, so let's kind of walk through an example game day. So let's say that the first game starts at 8 a.m., so a pretty early morning. Ideally, we'd be having breakfast or a small meal about 1 to 2 hours prior to the game. So that would be around, 6 to 7 a.m. And this is that, it would be probably more heavy on the carbohydrate side, but still including some protein, like a little bit of eggs or peanut butter or yogurt to keep hunger and energy nice and steady. Of course, if you're feeling hungry during the game, or maybe you're someone who doesn't really eat a whole lot prior, but you do okay snacking during the game, by all means, definitely make sure you're including that snack. Let's say game 2 is at 11 a.m. Ideally, having some kind of small snack before the game, maybe around 10 a.m. Would be really helpful, especially again, if you're not able to eat very much during game 1. Lunch after the game is going to be really critical for getting prepared for that 4 p.m. game. But of course, we want to make sure that our choices are, really promoting performance and not taking away from it. So try to avoid a lot of those like greasier, maybe fast food type of meals. I know that, on a long tournament day, those might be really, really convenient, but maybe not the best option. If you're able to actually pack a lunch with you, that would be fantastic. If not, then, maybe going to somewhere like a Subway or Jersey Mike, somewhere that you can get, a lean turkey sub. So you're getting good carbohydrates from the bread, and some good protein in there to help kind of avoid any energy crashes. And then of course we got that final game, game 3 at 4 p.m. If you weren't able to have a very big lunch, again, having a small snack during the game would be fantastic. Even just sipping on things like Gatorade, if you're not able to eat a whole lot, is a great source of quick carbohydrates. And then of course, having a dinner after the game, to refuel, replenish, and repair is essential. So, using one of the examples that we saw previously is a great, those are some great options. Okay, so now let's start looking at a case study. So Megan is an 18-year-old, and she's the starting pitcher for her varsity softball team. She's going to be pitching for at least 4 innings, and the game starts at 4 p.m. She has to be on the field before the game by 3 p.m. to warm up. So here are some questions that we're trying to think through. What should Megan aim to eat before the game? How should she fuel between innings if she starts to feel hungry? And what should her plate look like after the game? I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes or just a little bit of time here to think through that a little bit, and then I'll share my thoughts as well. And feel free to insert in the chat box if you have any, really good ideas. Okay, so as far as what Megan should aim to eat before the game, I'm actually going to go even a little bit further, earlier on during the day. So ideally, Megan would be getting up and having breakfast. She would be having lunch, and those would be pretty typical meals, very balanced in those carbs, protein, a little bit of color from fruits and vegetables, pretty, typical eating. And then maybe before she, maybe around 2:30 or so, a little before she starts warming up, having a small snack, if she hasn't been able to eat a whole lot, would be a great idea. Something like a banana and peanut butter or peanut butter crackers, that would really fit the bill. Those are going to be things that are a little bit higher in carbohydrates and easy to digest. Now, how should she fuel between innings if she starts to feel hungry? Some of those quicker carbohydrates are also going to be a go-to here. So things like fruit, if she really likes grapes or oranges or strawberries, those are all great options to snack on in between innings. Or if she's maybe a saltier kind of snacker, things like pretzels or goldfish would be fantastic. And then after the game, her plate should really look balanced with those carbs, fats, and proteins. So, for example, maybe about a third of her plate could be protein, maybe a good lean chicken breast or fish. A third of her plate can come from carbohydrates like pasta or potatoes or rice. And then about a third of her plate from nice antioxidant rich vegetables. Okay, so we have case study number 2. So Sabrina is a sophomore on her college softball team. She plays outfield and is the fastest runner on the team. She has a double header, and she usually gets tired during the third inning of the second game. She typically eats one banana with 2 tablespoons of peanut butter and a protein shake 2 hours before her first game, and then won't eat until after her second game. Definitely some things we could work on there. So how can Sabrina optimize her mealtime to correlate with her schedule? That's question number one. Question number two is, why is Sabrina so tired during the second game? And question number three is, what should Sabrina do next tournament day to avoid feeling hungry and tired? I'll let anyone chime in if you would like to. Please feel free. Okay, so to optimize Sabrina's mealtime to correlate with her schedule, you know, she's placed outfield and she's the fastest runner on the team, which means she's probably covering quite a bit of ground. She's getting tired during the third inning of the second game. She's really not eating a whole lot before the first game. She's only eating a banana with the peanut butter and the protein shake. That's a really great snack. But I think that she could also beef that meal up just a little bit, have maybe more of a sandwich, or having maybe including some toast with that banana and peanut butter to give her a little bit extra energy. Additionally, she could also put in a snack or meal in between her first and second game that would really, really help with that fatigue during her second game. And that kind of goes into the next question of why is she so tired? Well, she's really burned through quite a bit if she's only having essentially the banana as her source of carbohydrates, again, which is that quick energy that we need. Those carbs are our quick energy. If she's, having that before her first game, she's kind of running on empty by the time it comes to her second game. So making sure she's having something in between each game would be fantastic. If she's not able to do that, then even just snacking on some quick carbohydrates, fruit snacks, applesauce, etc., is a great idea. And then what should Sabrina do next tournament day to avoid feeling tired and hungry? Of course, making sure she's eating a great meal the night before, so she's got great energy levels, and then eating, as she's able to the next day, in between games is really, really essential. So kind of looking at, okay, if my game starts at 10 a.m., then I know that I need to be eating something probably by about 8 a.m., really, really trying to help solidify a good snack or meal about 1 to 2 hours prior to any game during the day. Okay, so some of the big action steps and kind of a review, a summary of some of the things to focus on. For big meals, before and after games, focus on carbs. That's the bread, pasta, cereal, rice, lean protein like chicken, fish, and eggs, and some of those healthy fats like avocado, olive oil, and nut butter. Having a good balance of those things is really hitting all the checkpoints. Keep some dry snacks and protein powder in your game day bag. That can help avoid hunger and keep energy levels nice and steady. Focus, hydrate before, during, and after games properly. Focus on carbs and protein to have that nice, steady energy. And avoid a lot of those high-fat meals like fast food in between games. Okay. So, there are a lot of things that as sports dietitians, we can help an athlete try to troubleshoot. So a lot of these frequently asked questions that we see are, how should I time my meals? What are easy snacks? What should I eat before an 8 a.m. game? All of these things are things that we see quite a bit in our field. And sometimes it takes a little bit of trial and error. And so we've given you a lot of those really great broad strokes, but sometimes it does need a little bit of extra attention for some athletes. And so to kind of take that a little bit step further, you've got the information that we provided today. And of course, please feel free to scan this QR code for a great informational packet on how to fuel for softball. I'll pause for just a second to make sure to give you time, either now or in the replay, to scan that code. Okay. And if after all of this, the broad strokes that we've provided, some of the free resource that we also just provided, if you or your athletes feel like you're still having a struggle, I'd like to introduce to you a great resource offered by my sports dietitian. It's called My Nutrition Plan. And with this program, we will offer you 2 weeks of free sports nutrition coaching. So yes, that's correct. It'll be 2 free weeks. So during this free trial, your highly qualified sports dietitian will assist you with helping manage their body weight goals, pre-game meal planning, daily nutritional strategies to accomplish their goals, personalized supplement protocol. I can tell you this is something that I get asked quite a bit from my athletes. And then even some of the weekly check-in with your sports nutrition coach. Having that weekly check-in as your accountability piece is truly invaluable. So after you have your free session, then you can decide if the My Nutrition Plan, the 3-month program is a nice fit for you. So with this program, you will improve your energy levels, body weight, overall strength, focus, recovery, endurance, you name it. All aspects of the game that are touched by nutrition, we can help you focus on. And so make sure to check out our early bird sign-up offer. So if you sign up now, you can gain access to $30 off per month with the coupon code, but this is only for early bird subscribers and the first 100 subscribers. So definitely make sure that you subscribe today. And just to kind of orient you to a little bit, this is where you will find in the app your kind of customized programs. And you're able to actually click and work with your individual sports dietitian. Having had access to this app myself, it's a fantastic resource, particularly if maybe you don't have a sports dietitian in your area that you can regularly consult with. Being able to do this virtually is pretty neat. Okay, so go ahead and get out your mobile phone right now and select this QR code and learn more about this free offer, or you can visit us at mysportsd.com. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this up for you all. Of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to let us know. It has been an absolute pleasure being able to hang out with you all today. Again, my name is Kelsey Smith. Please feel free to reach out if you need anything, and we'll leave it here for tonight. You'll have a great one.